Hello, it's Sonia here, The Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So today we are going to be crocheting a top, a lacy top, and you will be able to make this to fit any size. And you can use pretty much any yarn and any hook size, but I do suggest the yarn that you're using have some type of natural fiber in it, so either cotton, linen, wool, alpaca, anything like that, merino wool, bamboo, because you're going to want to block your top and because of the lace stitch, so it will open up the stitch really nicely. So to crochet this top, you will need to make 2 panels, and you're going to need to chain a multiple of 6, and then you're going to add 2. So in the sample tops that you see in the pictures, the one, I'm using it as a bathing suit cover up. So I used cotton yarn or number 4 yarn, and I used an eye hook to do that one. And then the other one, I used number 2 yarn, which has wool, and it's a wool acrylic mix, but it has mostly wool in it. And I used a G hook or 4.25 millimeter hook. But to get you started, I'm just going to use this J hook or 6 millimeter hook. I use this for Tunisian crochet too, so just ignore the rubber band. And I'm just using some cotton yarn, just a little bit here, to show you how to make your first panel, because you're going to need to make 2, and both of them are going to be the same. So you're going to make one, and then you're going to go and make another one. So what I suggest is with your first one, just jot down how many chains you made, or put it on your phone, your computer, write it on your hand, however you want to do that, and then do the same thing for the second one. So I said you're going to need to chain a multiple of 6 and then add 2. So for the cotton top, I chained 158. For the wool one, I chained 140. So this sample, we're just going to chain 20. 6 times 3 is 18. You add 2 and it's 20. So I have my 20 chains, and keep in mind the size tops that I made, I made them for myself. So I wear either like a women's size small or medium or large, depends on the maker of the clothes. Women's clothing sizes are all over the place. But I'm 5'4", if that gives you an idea. So we chained 20. So you're probably wondering, how long of a chain do I need to make? So how I like to figure that out, as I said, you can make this to fit any size, is what I did is I took a top that I own, a shirt, and I took one that I like where it hits. So I like where it hits along my waist, or if you like it longer at your hip, whatever kind of top you have or sweater, and you're like, oh, I really like the length of this, I like the way it hits me, I would suggest using one of those. And then you're going to lay it flat on the ground and then just start chaining. And you're going to measure the chain for the front part of the top. And it's going to need to be a long chain, especially if you're using a small hook and thinner yarn. So you can use stitch markers to help you with your chain. So what I did is I chained 25, I placed a stitch marker, chained another 25, placed a stitch marker, so I didn't have to keep counting all the time. So also with the chain is I stretched it out, because with using natural fiber yarn, your yarn will grow when you block it. So what that means, it's going to get bigger. So I kind of gave it a pull to kind of give me a gauge of maybe how long it would be. So I chained it, and then I pulled it taut and measured it against the top. And then I placed a stitch marker, and then I started chaining again to where it was again the length of the top, and then placed a stitch marker, and then I counted the chains to see how many I had, because we need a multiple of 6 and then you add 2. So when I chained mine, it was not exactly what I needed, so I used my stitch markers to help me count back so that it was as close as possible, so I ended up with 140 chains. So we have our chain here, so we're going to get started on row 1. So row 1, you're going to want to work in the back bump of the chain, so you're going to turn it over and you're going to single crochet in the second chain from your hook in that back bump. And you're just going to single crochet all the way across your chain. So as I said before, keep in mind how many you did chain, because you're going to need to make a second panel. Okay, so there is row 1, and you could also work foundation stitches if you would rather do that. So if you'd rather do foundation single crochet, I prefer working in a chain, because foundation stitches, when you're working that, it makes it really stretchy, which is great for hats or cuffs or something like that. And I didn't want it to be super stretchy, so that's why I chose not to do it. So I prefer the look with using a chain, which, you know, is a little bit fiddlier. But because this project will need to be blocked, if it's a foundation chain, I think it would grow a little too much to my liking. So now we're going to get ready for row 2. So row 2, you're going to chain 3 and turn your work. And now we are going to work right in this same stitch here, and we're going to work 2 more double crochet. So your chain 3 will count as a stitch. So we have those 3 double crochet. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to single crochet in the next one. We're going to skip 2 stitches. In the next stitch, we're going to work a shell, which is going to be 5 double crochet in that same stitch, and that will be our shell stitch. So I've worked 2, 3, 4, and here is 5. So now we're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and single crochet in the next. And we're repeating across, skipping 2, and we're working the shell. So you skip 2, work single crochet, skip 2, work a shell stitch in the next. You do that all the way across. So now we're at the end here. We're going to skip 2. In our last single crochet, we're going to work 3 double crochet because we want it to be the same as the beginning. So there is row 2. So row 3, we're going to chain 3, turn our work, and we're going to work 2 double crochet right in that first stitch there. Now we are going to chain 3. We're going to single crochet in this next single crochet. Chain 3. Now in the center stitch of our shell, which is the 3rd stitch, we're going to work another shell. So the shell is going to be stacked on top of the previous one, so that's 5 double crochet. And we're going to repeat, so chaining 3, single crochet in the single crochet, chaining 3, and working a shell on top of the next shell, and we're going to chain 3, and we're going to single crochet in that next single crochet. We're going to do our last chain 3, and then in the very last stitch here, which is that chain 3 from the previous row, we're going to work 3 double crochet. So right on top of that chain. So there we go, there is row 3. So you can kind of see that, you know, it definitely needs to be opened up a bit once it's completed. So now we are going to work row 4, which is going to be start of our repeat. So we're going to chain 3, work 2 double crochet in that first stitch, now we're going to single crochet around the next chain 3 space, and we're going to chain 3, and we're going to single crochet around the next chain 3 space. So there we go, right like that. And now we're going to work our shell on top of the next shell, so in that 3rd double crochet. So we're always stacking up our shells on top of each other. And now we're going to single crochet around the next chain 3 space, and we're going to chain 3 and single crochet around the next and work the shell on top of the next shell. So you're going to keep doing that all the way across for row 4 here. So now we're at the end, and what we're going to do is on top of that chain 3, you're just going to work 3 double crochet. So that's your last stitch there. So we want it to look the same as the beginning of the row. So there we go, there is row 4. So now we're on to row 5. We're going to chain 3, turn our work, and we're going to work 3 double crochet again. So you're always going to, or 2 double crochet, you're always going to work 2 double crochet in your first stitch. And now we're going to chain 3. And we're going to single crochet in this, around this chain 3 space. So just right around there, work your single crochet, and now we chain 3. And we repeat across. We're going to work our shell on top of our previous shell. As I said before, we're always working our shells on top of each other. And now we chain 3, and we work our single crochet around that next chain 3 space there, and we're going to chain 3 and work our shell on top of the previous shell in that 3rd double crochet, just so that you can see they stack on top of each other. So we're at the end of our row and we're going to work 3 double crochet on top of that chain 3 or the last stitch there. Okay, so there we go. There is row 5. So what you're going to do is you're going to be repeating rows 4 and 5 until your panel is wide enough. So it's going to go over your shoulder. You want it to fit like the front half of your body. So I will show you a clip on what I mean by that. And you're going to want to end on a row 4. So this row here, so this is row 5 that we just did. You want to end on a row 4. And then we will get to the next part of our top. And again, you're going to want to work 2 panels. So however many rows that you worked for your first one, you're going to work for your second one as well. So as I said before, jot it down, put it in your phone, in a notebook, however you like to keep track of things. So to figure out how many rows you need to work for your first panel, you're going to want to drape it over 1/2 of your body and then give it a little stretch, because as I suggested, you really want to use a yarn that is a natural fiber so that you can block it all out. So once it's blocked, you know, obviously that's going to open up the stitches a little bit. So just stretch it, and when it covers 1/2 of your body, you can determine if that is wide enough for you. Now we are going to work a little bit on the sides, like under the arm. So you'll add more rows if you are afraid that it's going to be too tight. Or if you could have it more form-fitting as well. So for my sample, I worked 22 rows. All right, so here is a panel here. I worked 22 rows. So you're going to want to put it on just drape it over your shoulder and just to see if it's wide enough. And keep in mind that this stitch pattern, it will stretch when you block it. And of course you will need to have made 2 of them. So I made my 2 panels. So here's the other one. And you want to do the same thing that you did with the first one. So whatever you did for this one, you'll do the same for the second one, because you want them to be the same size. And again, I worked 22 rows, and you can see how she stretches, because when you're done putting this together, you want to give it a good strong block to open up these stitches. And that is why we needed to use a yarn with a natural fiber in it, so that it will hold the block. Because you just use acrylic, it's not going to hold it. It's just going to spring right back. So if you have a natural fiber like cotton, this is a wool blend, it will stay opened up. So now we need to start attaching our panels. So what you're going to do is you're going to match them together. And they're reversible, so you don't have to worry about that. So let me get them vertical here. So here's one, and here is the other one. So this is our first row that we worked. So you want to match these 2 together, like that. All right, so we have our ends matched up. So now we need to slip stitch across to start forming this into a top. So we're going to take our yarn and we're going to insert our hook into the front loop of the first panel right there. And then the other panel, we're going to insert our hook into the back loop. So front loop, back loop. And you can see this loop's pulling out because that's where we started. I'll just pull that and fix it. It's not a big deal. All right, so now we're going to attach our yarn. So I just like to drape it over my hook, pull through my loops. Now we're going to chain 1. and we're going to slip stitch in that first stitch there. And we're going to continue across, and you're going to slip stitch. And you are going to need to try it on to see how far you want to slip stitch. So front loop, back loop, work the slip stitch. Front loop, back loop, work the slip stitch. So I am going to work a couple slip stitches, and then I'll show you how we're going to try this on to see how many stitches, how far up we need to slip stitch. And you really don't have to keep track of the count. I mean, you can. And you just want to make sure that your stitches are nice and even, not too tight, not too loose, as you're working your slip stitch across. And the reason why we are working in the front and back loop, because this is going to be the wrong side, so when you flip it over, you just have a pretty seam. So here is the one that I already finished. So you can see the pretty seam in the front there. It just gives it a nice little effect there. So I'm going to keep going on my other top, working slip stitch, and then I'll show you how we need to try this on just to see how far up we need to slip stitch. So you can see I'm trying it on, and I have worked 35 slip stitch. So you want to determine how much of a V-neck you want, so how low cut you want it to be. So right now, as I said, I have 35 slip stitch, and just give it like a little stretch, because like I said, when you block it, it will grow a little bit. So I finished slip stitching here, and I ended up slip stitching 40. After I tried it on, I thought it would be okay at that. So after you're done, you're going to want to cut your yarn. So I'm going to cut my yarn here. And now you're going to need to slip stitch on the other side. So still having it on the wrong side, so I'm just going to flip it over. Alright, so this is the other end. So we're going to attach our yarn the same way as we did for the front. I mean, either end could be you can determine what side you want to be the front and what you want to be the back. So again, we're doing front loop and back loop. So I have my yarn here, draping it on my hook, chaining one, and working my slip stitch. Now you can work the same amount as you did for the front, so I could work 40. It depends on how much of a V you want in your front and your back. So in my other sample that I made, I wanted a lower V in the front and a higher V in the back. So I actually added more slip stitch for the back. But I think I'm going to do 40, I think, for the back, and we'll just see how it looks. And you can always, take some out. Just try it on as you go and see, and just give it a little stretch, because as I said, this will grow with blocking. Alright, so here's the other side. So I ended up stitching 45, so I did 5 extra for the back here. But it doesn't matter what side is the front or the back, you can determine how you want that. So of course you're going to cut again. And this is the wrong side of our work, because when you flip it over, you're going to have that pretty seam in the front there, like that. So here we have, this is obviously where your head's going to go, here, like that. So now we need to finish this up. We're going to attach the sides. Okay, so I have it folded here at the seam, and we are going to continue on where we had left off. So we're going to be working in pattern here. So I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to attach my yarn here. So right at that chain 3, or it could be a double, this is a double crochet. And I'm going to chain 3. And I'm going to work 2 double crochet. Just like we had been doing with working in pattern. So now I am going to chain 3. And I'm going to single crochet in the next chain 3 space and chain 3. So we're just creating some side panels here because I don't want my top to be, I'm working my shell to be skin tight. Like I want it to be kind of a lacy, loose type of top, but not super loose. I mean, you can make yours if you really want it like baggy. You can certainly do that with this. So now what you're going to do is we're going to determine how far up we want to go. So I am actually going to try this on and kind of mark it. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So how far, like how big I want my armholes. So that's what we're actually figuring out. So as you can see, I'm trying it on. I have the front facing, so my front V-neck facing, and I am just kind of playing around with it, stretching it out, trying to figure out how big of an armhole I want. So I grabbed a handy scrap of yarn and I just marked the stitch of how far up I want my stitches to go, so for how big I want my armhole. And again, keep in mind that you will block this and it will grow. Okay, so I've worked my last chain 3. I'm up to my stitch marker, so I'm just going to take out the stitch marker. I don't need it anymore. So in that first double crochet, we're just going to work 3 double crochet. So it's going to look like the beginning of our row here. So we have worked our first panel here. So we're going to continue in pattern, so chaining 3, turning out of work, and working 2 double crochet. So what you're going to do is you're going to work a few rows and you want to end on a row 2 of this. So this is row 2 of the panel, of the side panel. So it's chain 3, we're going to single crochet around that chain 3, and then we're going to chain 3. So this is the row you're going to want to end on. So again, try it on. I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to work. I know with my other one that I made, I only made like 4 rows of the side panel, because I just want a little extra, because again, it will grow. So I will work 4 rows, so we'll see if it's wide enough, and I will meet you back. So I thought I would show you a drawing to also help with the construction of this project. And please excuse the crudeness of it, as I crochet much better than I draw, obviously. So this drawing shows the 2 panels stitched together, and then the circle in the middle would be your neck hole. And this is how it is before we attach the side panels. So when you're attaching your yarn for the side panel, you want to have the wrong side facing. So you can lay it down like the picture and then attach the yarn at the bottom. Doesn't matter which bottom. And then, but just make sure it's the wrong side facing. Okay, so here is my side panel, so right here, I worked 6 rows. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach it to the other side. So you're going to want to have the right sides touching. So we're going to be working on the wrong side. So this is the wrong side here. So you're just going to fold it in half. So here I have it folded onto the other side. It's sliding off my table. Awesome. So we are going to be stitching onto the other side. We're not sewing. So what we're going to do, and we're going to do it working in pattern, we're going to chain 3 and turn our work. So we ended on a row 2, so that is the chain 3 across right there. So we're chaining 3 and we're turning, and again this is the wrong side facing, and this is the bottom of my sweater, and then here is the neck hole right here. So you're going to want to fold it so it looks like at the top. So this is going to be the sleeve, and we're going to match to the other side. So this is the corner on the other side. And what we're going to do, so I chained 3, already turned. Alright, so we've got our chain 3. So what we're going to do is on the other side, so this, the right side touching, we're going to slip stitch in that first stitch to attach it. And then we work 2 more double crochet, so we're still keeping in our pattern here. So this is the row of our panel that we finished. And now we have that attached to the other side. Now we're going to continue. So our next thing, we're still working in pattern. I'm going to chain 3. And now I'm going to single crochet around this chain 3 space and this one, because we are working in pattern. So I'm going to single crochet around both of those and chain 3. So now I'm going to go back to the original part of our row, and we're working our shell. Double crochet for part of the shell. Here's the third one, because it's 5 double crochet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the shell that's already completed. On the other side, I'm going to slip stitch in that center stitch. And I'm going to complete the rest of the shell by working 2 more double crochet. And now we've begun to attach our side. So we're going to continue in pattern. I'm going to chain 3. So here's our next chain 3 space, and then we got to go on the other side. And we're going to single crochet around. Chain 3. And work 2 double crochet, because we're still working the shell, but we work 2 double crochet. Work our third one. Now we work our slip stitch in that center stitch of the shell on the other side. So there's the slip stitch, and we complete the shell by working 2 double crochet. And we're just keeping going till we get to the end here of our panel. So chaining 3, single crochet around that, and chain 3. And then starting our shell, so we'll work the 3 double crochet, that center double crochet, and then 2 more. So I'm going to keep going, finishing up till I get to the end, and I'll show you how we finish up the end. So here is the side here. So this drawing depicts the side panels stitched before they would be stitched to the other side. So I just wanted to give you a better idea of the construction of this. So after you would stitch the one side panel, you're going to fold it. So the end that doesn't have the little rectangles on it, you want to fold it so it matches the other end, and you want to make sure you have your right sides touching. So when you're stitching it to the other side, you will have the wrong side facing you. So I hope that gives you a little better idea. I know with the camera angles, and my desk is kind of small, so it can be a little hard to see. So I just wanted to hopefully make it a little bit more clear with the construction. It's pretty easy construction. I feel like once you do it, then you understand it, but it can be a little confusing at first. Okay, so I'm getting to the end of my row of my side panel. So I've got my final chain 3. And then we need to attach on this final shell here. So we're going to slip stitch in that center stitch there, and then we can cut our yarn. And our one side panel is done. So this one side panel is done, and I know it looks a little messy on the wrong side, but when it's blocked and everything, it really doesn't show. Okay, so here is my top. It is blocking currently on, I just wet block it, so I hand washed it with cold because it has wool in it gently, and I used some shampoo and conditioner just to soften it up a little bit, and then I just laid it out on this towel and really spread it out as best as I could so the stitches will pop. So now we're just waiting for it to dry, and I did already weave in my ends.